All right, everybody. We've had some boombasso of news coming out talking about Sounders contracts. It's the fun time during the offseason contracts, transfers, rumors, everything in between. So I thought this wasn't a planned video that I wanted to do because I have already some preset off-season content that I'll be pumping out for you guys. I do have a video coming out with Will, MLS Moves. He's been on the channel many, many times. That will be coming out reviewing the entirety of the season, maybe a day or two after this one. But yeah, so there's some news that has come out over contracts. Nico Moreno has dropped some information on a handful of players' contracts. Brody previously did do a video talking about what players he wanted to see stay and go in regards to players that are out of contract. This has nothing to do with going through the whole roster and seeing who we would keep or sell. This is purely down to players that now that the season is over that are out of contracts. And if you want to pick up their options, or if they're out of contract completely, have no option to pick up, and or should the Sounders renew them. And quickly before we get into it, boys and girls, we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers, and maybe we do a giveaway for all of you once we hit that milestone. We're very, very close. With your guys' help, I know we can get there before next season starts. So make sure to subscribe if you guys want updates throughout this offseason about news, getting our thoughts on it and updates. So make sure to do that. Smash the like button, drop your comments on everything we talk about in this video. First and foremost, the big bombshell that Nico has dropped is about Paul Rothrock. So quick clarification about how these contracts work. I'll pull up quickly on the screen the expiring contracts. So you see on some of them, they have this thing called a club option. It's an MLS thing. Essentially, the club can just renew them. They don't have to actually talk to the player. If they have a club option, either the club can initiate that or they don't initiate that, which is, I believe, a preset amount of money that their contract would be at if they decide to initiate it. Paul Rothrock, on the other hand, doesn't have that. So straight up, the club has to look at giving him a whole new contract. And basically, to paraphrase the report, Nico Moreno saying that the negotiations between the Seattle Sounders and Paul Rothrock are ongoing, but both sides remain far apart from an agreement, and Rothrock is likely to explore MLS free agency. That's the first one. There's more to this tweet if you guys look down here, but we'll first go and break this one down. I'm not massively surprised. We all know Paul Rothrock. He is right now the darling of Seattle football, and he's not on a big contract. Correct me if I'm wrong, all the Seattle Sounders number nerds, and there's something wrong with that because I'm a Sounders nerd, but not when it comes to the numbers exactly. I believe he's around he has a salary of around 100K per year. That's what he's making. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's asking for 3 or 4 times that amount based on the seasons he has had for the club, and last year being like his breakout year. I'm not super surprised that this was the case. I had a hunch this might actually happen because he doesn't have a club option. It depends on what direction the club wants to go because there are so many wingers on this team. There's Georgie, there is Rothrock, there's Kent, there is I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. And another guy that we didn't see feature last season that we did sign for last season was Paul Arriola. So there is a lot of wingers. And with him returning, there's a good-ish problem that we have in the winger position. So I'm indifferent. I've been seeing a lot of your guys' comments from our posts about how like pay him whatever he needs, this and that. I don't want to say let's be ridiculous and just pay Paul Rothrock whatever he wants. Again, we don't know what's the situation like right now for the club and what direction they want to go. In my opinion, this could be the most important offseason in Sounders history, depending on what direction the club wants to go. And if Paul's wanting for like, 500K, 400, 500 plus K, I personally wouldn't give it to him looking at it a business standpoint because he's 26 years old. It's his first good year in MLS. This is his first solid winger-esque year. How many more years does he have in the tank? Can he replicate this? Can he improve on this? Because he's not necessarily like young spring chicken, 21, 22, or even younger than that, like a Schneider, an Obed, a Danny, a Georgie. He is 26. And this is his first breakout year. Can he replicate that? Can he improve on that? We kind of had these similar discussions with Liao Chu after his first breakout year. Can he replicate that? Can he do the same thing? Or was it time for us to cash in on him? And these are kind of the things you have to think about Paul Rothrock. If we tie him down to a multi-year deal for, let's say, 500K yearly. We're stuck with that. And that's kind of the predicament we see with Jordan Morris. I don't have any issue with us renewing Paul Rothrock, but I don't want it to bind us down like a lot of these contracts have done for us. And maybe, again, maybe the Sounders are recognizing that issue. Craig Weibel's like, hey, maybe I don't want to do that again because it hamstrung the team in regards to roster flexibility. And if we let him walk, it's kind of like similar to what I said last year with Rusnak. Just let him walk. Don't re-sign him to a DP deal. It opens up a lot more avenues for us. This is a lot smaller size of a contract compared to Rusnak's, but it can make a difference. If Rothrock wants TAM deal, I wouldn't do it. If Rothrock wants a small, like a reasonable improvement in regard to like 200K, 300K, like a 2x, 3x, maybe I would look into that. But it also depends on what you want to do with the wingers. And that leads me then to the next part of this. Additionally, Nico Moreno continues to report the club has declined their options on Ryan Kent and João Paulo, which means they're probably not going to come back. And there's been no agreements reached so far with Stefan Fry or Jonathan Bell. He also did already report, I'm not going to throw that one up, most likely Yamar Musovski are going to be renewed. We'll go through the list actually of expiring contracts in a second. When it comes to Kent and João Paulo, JP, he's on one of my Sounders jerseys back here. I loved him. His very first year, I knew that guy was different gravy. 2021 beast. 2022 before the ACL dog. But he's not been the same. And that is not a problem. Father Time is undefeated. JP, I am okay with us being like, no thanks. Small little addition here. Since the time of recording, JP has announced on his Instagram that he will be leaving the club. Ryan Kent, I'm definitely bummed about, but again, I'm not surprised. I think Kent didn't want to stay with this team. I think he can have better offers. He can have better avenues where he's an out-and-out starter and can really kind of like revitalize his career. If this was a perfect world for me, again, I know this might be a hot take, I would have kept Kent, I would keep Georgie, and I would keep either one of Arriola and Rothrock because I think Rothrock and Arriola are similar players. I don't think you need both of them. I don't think you need all four of them because, as I said, you can play Ferreira on the wing. You can play Roldan on the wing. You have other options. I don't think it's the most optimal thing to do, but you can do that. So if it was, again, my perfect world, I would say Georgie, Kent. Those are the more dynamic wingers. Don't forget as well, Pedro. I don't know why I had a brain fart on that. Pedro Del Vega is also in the frame too. So even my point, even more so, you don't need all these wingers. But I would have, out of all the players out of contract, Kent would have been one of the ones higher on my list to try to maintain because I think there's a big upside with Kent. I really, really do. But maybe I look at things differently to everyone else. Fry, Bell. Fry, I'm okay with walking. As I said, Thomas needs to be the number one. It depends on what the discussions are with Fry. I don't even think it's beneficial to even keep him as a number two because I think we have great other backups in like Mo Sure, Jacob Castro. So like I would just maybe give Fry that goodbye and just call it a day. John Bell, I'm 50-50 on. I can tell everybody here on this video, Kim Ki-hee is going to be returning next year. He just has a minor calf surgery he has to do, but he will be returning. It's looking very, very likely that they're going to be taking his option. So Kim Ki-hee is coming back. And if he is coming back, I would just rather let John Bell walk and then we just let Stewart take up those minutes. Because again, age, making the team younger, adding a little bit more of a freshness to the team. If we keep John Bell, I do really want us to start opening up more roster flexibility, being okay with letting guys walk because that's a lot easier than trying to sell them to teams because obviously you have to negotiate. There's more time consumption, letting people walk, spending more of your time negotiating players to bring in. So from all these rumors and things like that, when it comes to the wingers, in an ideal world, I would keep Georgie, Pedro, Kent if we could have. But honestly, if we let go of Rothrock, Kent, you're freeing up a lot more winger space because then let's say in theory, Rothrock, Kent, they walk. We would have Georgie, De La Vega, and Arriola. Out of all of them, though, Arriola is the one I would be most okay with letting walk. If I were to make like this tier list, Arriola is definitely on the bottom. I think Kent and Rothrock are joined together. De La Vega and then Georgie being on the top. I think Georgie's the crown jewel of all of them. I think Della Vega, I just think what's frustrating is he's a DP, gets injured so much. We haven't quite seen the DP-ness. We have seen it in spurts, but I need to see it in a full year. We're going to year 3 with Pedro. I really want it to work out, but it's not looking good, bruv. I also think another side of the coin is I think this could be fluff. I think it could be BS, personally. I think this is all just so fans can comment. Obviously, the club is not dumb. Ownership is not dumb. They see fans' comments. They see like, keep Rothrock. We need him. Pay him what he wants. And I would assume the club wants to keep fans relatively happy. I mean, they don't always do it. They don't always listen to us. I mean, countless videos, and I don't think they really listen to me at all. And maybe it's fluff. I don't know. I could see it being a little BS. I think probably I'm not surprised there's a little pushback. We all know Rothrock. He's a little bit of a hothead. He knows he's got the Sounders fan pocket card. He's a Seattle boy, this and that. Maybe he's letting that work in his negotiation. Be like, you know what? Okay, I'll go to MLS free agency and see if Sounders budge. Typical negotiation tactics. So part of me does think there could be a little bit of fluff there. Ken, I am probably out of all of these, that's the most upset I am, but I'm not surprised. I said it after his injury in Leagues Cup. We might have seen the last of Ryan Kent. I was pretty positive on that, and I'm not super surprised by that. JP, as I said, indefinite, I would let walk. John Bell, Fry, I would be cool with letting him walk too. I'm okay with that. I would just play Stewart to replace John Bell. As I said, Kim is very likely to return. And yeah, I think the next best part to do in this video is going through these contracts. As I mentioned, Brody already has done this. I didn't have a chance to chime in on it. And since we're talking about him, now we kind of have a clearer picture of some of the players. Let's do a quick little speed run. I don't want this video to go on for too long. I want to keep it relatively short for you all. Obed, I think we take his option. I don't think he wants to renew. I'm pretty positive he doesn't want to like renew outside of this option. Sounders offload him in the off season. Don't be sad about it. I'm telling you guys, I think that is the most likeliest outcome. I don't have anything behind it. That's how I feel and what I think could happen. Nuhu, I think his option will be taken. Nico said how Sounders could look to pick up the options. Again, I'm paraphrasing, and maybe could look to offload him. He actually replied to that with laughing emojis. So I don't think Nuhu's going anywhere. Ryan Kent, he's not staying. Rothrock's 50-50. Let's just say he's going to walk. He walks. He goes to MLS free agency. Yamar, as I said, and Musovski, Nico's already reported, most likely are going to be coming back. Those club options are taken. Ja Paulo, he's walking. Osase, we're probably taking the 2-year option on him. I'm cool with him being a third string. Kalani, taking the 2-year option. Steph Fry, John Bell, let's say they walk. I think maybe one of them might stay. I don't see both of them staying. I think one of them definitely do walk. Let's just say based on these reports right now, they walk. Kim, as I said, I'm saying this, it is looking very likely he is going to be returning, and the club picked up his 1-year option. Castro, Leo Bernie, sure, whatever. Take their club options. So that's how I kind of think things are going to, I don't know about think, but how I think things will pan out. Okay, let's do that. I've already said it like twice already. We take Obed's 1 year and we sell him. I don't think Obed's going to take a contract renewal because there's been reports that Sounders might offer him a U22 spot. I don't think Obed's going to take it. Looking at it at Obed's perspective, he wants to be in Mexico squad for the 2026 World Cup. And the reality is him playing for the Sounders does hinder him. That is a reality. If he goes and plays in Europe, gets relatively good minutes, plays relatively well, he almost becomes a shoehorn spot to be next to Edson Alvarez in that midfield if he does that. So I don't blame him if he wants to leave. And I think he does want to leave. Nuhu, I think he's staying. I think the ship for Nuhu to be gone is long past. I don't think he wants to go. As I said, he commented on Nico's report, say like with laughing emoji, saying that we could possibly look to offload him. So I think that says everything that needs to be said there. Ryan Kent's not coming back. Rothrock, I think comes back. I think this whole thing, not saying the report's bogus, not that. I think it's fluff. I think that's what's going on right now. I think he comes back. Yamar comes back. Musovski comes back. Osase comes back. I think JP walks. Kalani comes back. I think Fry comes back, and fingers crossed, he will be this backup to Thomas. But I do have a weird feeling we're not gonna let go of Fry, and I think he'll still be the starter. That's my gut feeling. John Bell, I think we let walk. Kim will stay. Jacob will stay. Leo Burney will stay. That's kind of like my quick little update, guys, on the contract situations. We'll see how things pan out. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do this video anyway originally, because again, this is all fluff. This is all rumors. But I think we do have quite a good picture of what's going down with the players that have expiring contracts at the end of this season. I think we have a pretty solid picture of it. I think there's like 2, maybe 2 or 3 that could go either way, but I think we have a pretty good picture of what is going to happen. And based off of the reports that Nico has made about, I want to say, I think he's reported about half the players so far and what's likely to happen. So we'll just have to see. Once everything's ironed out, of course, we will talk about it, and we will do a video going through the roster. Who would we keep? Who would we sell? Players and positions that we would look that the club should sign. So we're going to pick out some positions, strikers obviously being one of them, maybe Cam, an outside back, and look at some options across Asia, Africa, Europe, whatever continent it may be. A couple options for each of those positions that we think the club should look to bolster in, bring in players for, improve the squad with. So you guys just have to make sure to stay tuned. Be subscribed. As I said, 2K subscribers. That's the objective here. I need all your guys' help, and I know you guys can do it. Share with a friend, your grandma, your cousin, whoever it may be. Tell them to subscribe. Smash the like button on this video. And then, guys, per usual, my opinion only matters so much. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below about all these news, about the contracts, the gossip, the chirping. Who do you guys think is going to stay? Who's going to get renewed? All that good stuff. Let me know your thoughts. But boys and girls, I hope you'll have a lovely day.